We're going to start our program with our message, The Power of Thought, which was the text message that was posted to the website last week. But this message is so wonderful and has been received so well, I want to go over it today on the radio program so that even more people can get this information. So let's look at these profound words from the mystical Ernest Holmes from his metaphysical classic, The Science of Mind and Spirit. He says, that which thought has done, thought can undo. Lifelong habits of wrong thinking can be consciously and deliberately neutralized, and an entirely new order of mental and emotional reaction established in mind. Merely to abstain from wrong thinking is not enough. There must be active right thinking. We must become actively constructive and happy in our thinking, not merely passively so. New and wholesome ideas of life, vitality, and hope must be accepted and incorporated into the substratum of our mental life so that a more wholesome externalization may manifest in our bodily condition and environment. Since we must all begin right where we are, most of us will be compelled to begin our healing work with a mechanical process. We should take the highest thought we have and attempt to enlarge on this consciousness until it embraces a more vital concept of reality. Consciousness, in this sense, means an inner embodiment of ideas. If one wishes to demonstrate prosperity, he must first have a consciousness of prosperity. If he wishes health, he must embody the idea of health. This is more than faith. It is the knowledge that we are dealing with law, universal law, which is God's law. While a certain consciousness may be mechanically induced, of course, the more spontaneity put into the mechanical word, the more power the word must have. And so we realize from these words from Dr. Holmes that law is the action of spirit made manifest. Ernest Holmes tells us this is more than faith, and by this we can realize that he is referring to that state of mind that knows, and knows without doubting that the love and law of the Spirit is absolute. We come to this realization by choice. In other words, we choose to accept it and to believe it. So when he talks about wrong thinking can be consciously and deliberately neutralized, and an entirely new order of mental and emotional reaction established in our mind, and merely to abstain from wrong thinking is not enough, there must be active right thinking. He tells us something that the great Dr. Norman Vincent Peale also gave us. Dr. Peale said we must displace the negative with the positive. So in the case of someone coming to us and talking about negative things, I just had an email yesterday from Guatemala from this woman who says, what do we do when people come around us and they're so negative? Well, all we can do is not argue with them or not resist it, but just mentally, in the silence of our mind, reject it and displace any negative thought that comes to our mind with a positive thought, with a faithful thought, with a thought that dispels anything unlike it and displaces the negative in our mind, in our consciousness, with that which is positive, that which is wonderful. So we know, once again, that we come to this realization by choice. By choice. We inherently have the ability to choose, so therefore we can choose to be positive, we can choose to have faith, we can choose to understand, just as the Mastermind Jesus did, that it is done unto us as we believe. And where do we believe? We believe in our mind. And how do we create a belief in something good? We continually reject anything unlike the good in our mind. And we start bringing it forth in our conscious mind, more ideas and more images of things that are wonderful and positive and things that make us feel good about life. Let's look at some more words here from the great Dr. Holmes. He writes, we cannot live a choiceless life. Every day, every moment, every second, there is choice. If it were not so, we would not be individuals. We have a right to choose what we shall induce in mind. The way in which our thoughts are to become manifest, we cannot always see, Or should we be disturbed that we do not see the way, because effect is potential in cause? I am Alpha and Omega. I am Alpha and Omega. We must understand this I am, which is God, is inherent in all of us because we are in that image of God, and all that comes between cause and effect. Cause and effect are really one, and if we have a given cause set in motion, the effect will have the equal to the cause. One is the inside and the other the outside of the same thing. A certain specific intelligent idea in mind will produce a certain specific concrete manifestation equal to itself. Because there is only one infinite principle, one infinite thought stuff, one infinite creative power, the countless numbers of forms which change as the specific idea behind them changes. So Ernest Holmes is not giving us a new idea here, but an idea that has been discovered by mystics and spiritual seekers throughout history. And the great mystics have told us that karma is not the stuff of concrete, for that which our consciousness can cause can always be renewed through the same action of mind to that which is perfect, whole, and complete. Transformation, then, can be an instantaneous awareness of the truth that causes all that is false to dissipate, to lose its power. So it is incumbent upon each of us to make the choice that our thought has power, or tell ourselves that it does, and to repeatedly tell ourselves that it does, so that we can experience this power through prayer and affirmation and meditation until it is so steadfast in our mind that not only do we have faith in a power greater than we are, we have faith in the law of our mind with absolute confidence. With absolute confidence. So think about what that implies for all of us, and think about the wondrous things that are happening in our world. Just look at the world and wonder, and just realize all the things. As we get older in life, we realize all the changes that happen. And some of the things we look back on, we think, how in the world did we ever function in a world without the things that we have now? Because the things we have now, we take it so for granted, but there will come a time when the things that we have now will be just as much of an antiquity as the things that we had when we were children. Now, often I will get the question, how do you know that thought has power? And although the answer can be illustrated simply, the implications are unlimited. Consider the power of thought to make someone's face flush red when they are embarrassed or startled. This same power can be used to heal the body, and most of us have witnessed this to a certain degree. The power of thought can also draw into our mind ideas that acted upon can prosper us. All things are possible as God has incarnated in each of us this power, but it is up to us to believe it and to learn to make use of it so that we can strengthen our faith to the level of absolute conviction. We don't have to convince the infinite that we want more love, or we want more peace, or we want more joy, or we want more prosperity, or we want more success. It is inherent within us to desire these things, for God has made them possible for us, and at some level of consciousness, we know this is true. From the ancient wisdom, we can read that the mastermind Jesus said he would lay down his body and take it up. Moses took his own rod and made it a serpent, his own hand and made it leprous with a thought, his own hand and healed it with a thought. Now these may seem far-fetched to some, but let us not forget that miracles are normal and natural, but our understanding of the process may be beyond our ability to know the cause, because we live in a culture and a society where if we don't know why things happen, we'll ignore them. That's why so many people today ignore the things in the Holy Scriptures, because they don't believe them, because they don't understand them. They don't know why it happened, why it was possible. Just like when Jesus multiplied the loaves and the fishes. Some people just will never talk about that, and some people will even ridicule the whole idea of it because they don't understand how it happened. We call it a miracle because it's beyond our human understanding. But all these things are normal and natural to those who have put their faith into that something greater, put their faith in the power and the law and the purposes of that something greater until it would manifest through them in almost a supernatural way. And we would probably call it a supernatural way and be correct. But those who didn't embody it, those who didn't have the faith, those who didn't have the practice of generating that faith through their consciousness every day in some way, shape, or form, wouldn't understand it. Now, the master metaphysician Ernest Holmes gave us a prosperity affirmation, and if you're having issues with prosperity or financial ease, think on these words. Think on these words until you can say, this is the truth for me now. This is the truth for me now. Now, this part of our message is going to be posted to RevBates.com and RevBates on the radio.org tomorrow under the weekly message. So you can read it. You can actually read it, and you can print it out, and you can go over it until it becomes so steadfast in your mind that it starts working for you. He writes, today I expect every good thing to come to me, for I know that divine abundance is forever manifesting itself in my affairs. Today I expect every good thing to come to me, for I know that divine abundance is forever manifesting itself in my affairs. Think about that for a moment. Can you expect it? Because we don't get what we want. Get what we expect. So we must raise that level of expectation in our mind, and this affirmation starts us on the road to doing that. Today I expect every good thing to come to me, for I know that divine abundance is forever manifesting itself in my affairs. So let's go to the next step. I am keeping my whole mind and thought and expectation open to new experiences, to happier events, and to a more complete self-expression. Everything that belongs to the Spirit, I accept. Everything that partakes of the nature of divine reality, I claim as my own. I identify with success, and I prosper in everything I do. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. Divine abundance is forever manifesting in my affairs, and I let it be so, and so it is, and so it is. So we must take into our mind the reality of these words and the implications of these words and start thinking about, what does this mean? How can I expect something good to come into my life every day? By study and by prayer and by meditation and by sitting in the silence and acknowledging that we're in the presence of God. God is omnipresent. Where there is life, there is God. You know, we don't deny the air that we breathe, even though we can't see it. We can't draw a picture of it. We can't photograph it. But so many people will deny the presence of God because they can't see God. They can't photograph God. They can't draw a picture of God. But yet those same people will say, I believe in science. Well, God is a science because God is creation itself. Creation itself. When we have an idea, when something comes to our mind to do something, to have something, to create something, It is the intelligence of God that works through us to bring it to pass. God is always forever seeking an outlet through you and me and through everyone. So, but we give credit to the people. We give credit to Bill Gates for Microsoft. We give credit to Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook. We give credit to the Apple guy. I can't think of his name right now. We give credit to him for those inventions and those creations. We give credit to Edison for seizing the power of electricity, and for Alexander Graham Bell for the telephone. We give credit to them, but it was the intelligence of God working through them, and they allowed themselves to be an outlet for that intelligence that worked through them to bring forth something new, something that never had been seen before, something that never had been even imagined before, and bring it into manifestation. But it's the intelligence of God working through them that made it possible. So we must condition our mind to accept the greater things. We must condition our mind to accept that God seeks to work through us to create something greater, something better, to fulfill the desires of our heart, to manifest in our life good health and happiness and prosperity and success and joy and happiness, so that we can love this thing called life. Because if we're to love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, as the Mastermind Jesus tells us, then we must love life, because God is life. God is life. We live because God lives in us. And that's the truth for you and me and for everyone. So let's go back to this wonderful affirmation created by the master metaphysician Ernest Holmes, who allowed God to be an outlet through him to write this. And let's say to ourselves, this is the truth for me now. This is the truth for me now. Say it out loud to yourself if you can. This is the truth for me now. Say it. Today I expect every good thing to come to me, for I know that divine abundance is forever manifesting itself in my affairs. I am keeping my whole mind and thought and expectation open to new experiences, to happier events, and to a more complete self-expression. Everything that belongs to the Spirit I accept. Everything that partakes of the nature of divine reality I claim as my own. I identify with success and I prosper in everything I do. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. Divine abundance is forever manifesting in my affairs. I let it be so, and so it is, and so it is. So think about those words and think about what this means. Everything that belongs to the Spirit. That means the Spirit of us, the ideas that we have. That's part of the Spirit. The images that we bring into our mind, the desires of our heart, those things that are unseen to anyone else but us. Many of us can use our divine imagination and see ourselves doing all manner of things. Just imagine yourself living in the desires of your heart. Practice it in your mind. See it. If you can't see it, you can't be it. See yourself driving that new car. See yourself holding hands with your soulmate. See yourself walking down the aisle with your wedding dress or your tuxedo, speaking words to a priest or a minister or a reverend or somebody, a justice of the peace, as you're getting married. See yourself being happy, smiling, feeling lighthearted, feeling good about life. See yourself moving through your life experience with an expectation of good things. Be realistic. expect a miracle. Be realistic. Expect a miracle. Miracles are normal and natural because we have the power of God's love working through us. And we have the power of God's law making those things that we believe to be true become manifest in our life experience. It's done unto us as we believe. So as we believe in the good, we can expect the good. But as we believe and doubt and worry and suffering and struggle, we allow those things to come into our life too. Let's don't do that. Let's let the good come through. Good and more good is mine, and ever-increasing good is mine. Everywhere I go, I see the good. I acknowledge the good. I thank God for the good, even if it's not my own personal possession. I celebrate everybody else's marriages and weddings. I celebrate the birth of their children. I celebrate the successes that they have. Congratulate them when they get promoted. Bring all this into your mind and let yourself into that field of positivity and good and a feeling of wonderful things are happening in our world, because if we turn on the news, we turn on CNN or MSNBC or CBS or NBC or ABC, we're going to fill our mind with a lot of negative stuff because it's going on in the world around us. That letting ourselves get down because of the things that are going wrong definitely isn't going to make our life any better. We must be strong because there will come a time when that strength is necessary for us to help other people, for us to be there for someone else. So as we're strong in our faith, as we prosper and succeed in what we do, as we find that flow of happiness coming through our heart, our mind, and our soul spontaneously every day, we can be there for other people when they need us. And most importantly, we can take care of ourselves. We can find that sense of self-reliance that's so strong, because we know that the power, the strength, the intelligence, and the Spirit of God is our divine nature. We are the image and the likeness. We are like the God that created all that we see. But we're not co-creators with God. God has everything necessary for us to put it together and make it our own. But we must see it. We must see ourselves having it, doing it, being it, enjoying it, being happy with it, for it to come to pass. So can we sustain the thought, I prosper in everything I do? Can we? Can we sustain the thought, I prosper in everything I do? We can if we choose to, and mentally reject any and all things that appear to contradict this divine order we have attributed to ourselves. Let's allow ourselves to believe. Let's allow ourselves to expect. Remember, we don't get what we want. We get what we expect. So we all must begin right where we are. We must do it. We have to take the highest thought that we have and attempt to enlarge our consciousness until it embraces a more vital concept of life and living and joy and happiness and success and prosperity than we've ever done before. Enlarge our capacity to take into our mind a greater degree of that intelligence, a greater measure of that intelligence that is God, a greater measure of that spirit of love and happiness and harmony and peace that is God, and a greater measure of that power of God, so that we can become self-reliant, that we can stand firm in our faith and not waver. No doubting can come into our mind as we create through our divine imagination the good desires of our hearts made manifest. first on the unseen side of life. And all that is unseen shall be seen through the faith, the power, the intelligence of the infinite, working through you and me and through everyone. And so it is. Amen.